The United Kingdom has been rocked by a Supreme Court ruling that has sent shockwaves through every level of the state. In a dramatic turn of events that has stunned the nation, the country's highest court has exposed what many are already calling one of the most brazen betrayals of the democratic system in recent memory, a covert plan to reintegrate the UK into the European Union, allegedly orchestrated by none other than Keir Starmer himself. This was not merely a legal decision, it was a decisive intervention that brought to light a secret operation threatening the very foundations of Brexit. At the heart of the 97-page judgment was an undisclosed agreement with Brussels, driven by Starmer and a small circle of advisers. What had been publicly portrayed as a set of harmless technical and economic measures was, in fact, a carefully crafted strategy to gradually align British law with EU regulations, all behind closed doors, without public scrutiny, parliamentary debate, or any form of citizen consent. For months, this strategy unfolded in absolute secrecy. It wasn't until a whistleblower stepped forward and a judicial review followed that the full scheme was exposed. The court formally accused Starmer's team of deliberately concealing the truth, breaching democratic norms, and operating with a shocking lack of institutional transparency. The wording of the agreement was deliberately vague, avoiding any direct mention of the EU, and instead using phrases like regulatory simplification to avoid triggering political backlash. The ruling confirmed long-standing suspicions. Labour's leadership had never truly accepted Brexit and had been quietly paving the way for a slow return to EU influence. Leaked internal documents outlined a roadmap for closer judicial cooperation and regulatory harmonisation with the EU, all presented as domestic policy changes. Had the plan gone ahead in full, the UK would have ended up relining up to 85% of its legislative framework with EU standards within 5 years without holding another referendum or seeking Parliament's approval. Public outrage was swift and intense. Demonstrations erupted in cities across the country. Outside Parliament, crowds chanted slogans like "Brexit betrayed" and "Starmer must go." Social media platforms, radio talk shows, and online forums lit up with criticism. Even former Labour voters and centrist supporters expressed a profound sense of betrayal. In Westminster, the political fallout was equally severe. Reports indicate that multiple Labour MPs confronted party leadership demanding clear answers. One reportedly described the scheme as electoral suicide, warning that unless Starmer resigns immediately, the party could face total collapse. Meanwhile, Conservative and Reform UK MPs called for full parliamentary inquiry and even potential criminal investigations. Nigel Farage accused Starmer of trying to sneak Britain back into the EU through the back door, vowing that the British people would not forgive such a betrayal. Farage's Brexit betrayed national tour drew huge crowds, resonating not only with staunch Brexiteers but also with disillusioned Labour supporters. Even more alarming were leaked documents from within the EU, confirming that Brussels had full knowledge of Starmer's covert initiative. Internally referred to as the British Reintegration Corridor, preparations were already underway to quietly reintegrate the UK into EU structures, avoiding the political cost of a formal re-accession process. This revelation of behind-the-scenes foreign coordination only intensified public anger. In response, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak convened an emergency parliamentary session and introduced the Sovereignty Protection Act, which will criminalise any international agreements made without parliamentary approval or public consent. The legislation has already been drafted and is expected to pass with broad cross-party support, including from dissenters within Labour ranks. At the same time, legal consequences may be looming. The Attorney General's office has begun reviewing the case to determine whether Starmer or others could face charges for misconduct in public office, a serious offence. Several senior civil servants have already resigned, citing ethical concerns over the scandal's magnitude. Nationwide protests continue to gain momentum. In cities like Birmingham and Glasgow, thousands have taken to the streets demanding accountability. Outside Labour headquarters in London, demonstrators shouted slogans such as "Traitors out" and "Respect the vote." Tensions are rising rapidly, prompting an increased police presence amid fears of further unrest. The Labour Party is now engulfed in one of its most severe internal crises. Resignations from the shadow cabinet appear imminent, while party offices are flooded with furious letters from grassroots supporters. Behind closed doors, growing numbers of Labour figures are urging Starmer to step down before the week is out. One senior strategist reportedly remarked, "We've been handed a ticking time bomb, and no one wants to be the one holding it. Farage and Reform UK are enjoying a significant surge in the polls, overtaking Labour in some key regions. Voters are abandoning traditional parties in favour of movements that promise transparency, respect for democratic will, and national sovereignty. The question now haunting British society is just how close the country came to surrendering its sovereignty in silence. Were it not for the Supreme Court's decisive intervention, the UK may have quietly slipped back under EU influence. This betrayal has not only been perceived as a political maneuver, but as a direct insult to ordinary citizens. Millions are demanding answers. Keir Starmer has yet to make a public appearance, issuing only a brief statement in which he dismissed the ruling as a misinterpretation of policy objectives, a claim that has been met with widespread skepticism. Behind the scenes, Labour MPs are divided between loyalty and self-preservation. Even former allies are distancing themselves, admitting they had no idea of the plan's full extent. This scandal has exposed not just covert political tactics, but a deepening divide between the ruling elite and the electorate. This was not a simple policy misstep. It was a calculated, covert attempt to undo a democratically expressed mandate. As the nation grapples with the aftermath of this crisis, one thing is certain: the British people will not be silenced again. If you found this report informative, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, leave us your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe this revelation will change the political direction of the UK? We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.